We have a tweet from Catturd. You heard it. His name is Catturd. Catturd, for those that don't know, he's a very prominent Trump supporter. Despite his silly name, he has 3.6 million followers. He tweeted, "I was just swatted again for the fourth time. As I tweeted earlier, I live in the middle of nowhere and know all the cops here. They knew what it was immediately and just called me and sent one officer who had a great conversation with, really nice guy. I have the number they called from and will turn all the info over to the FBI today. My two swatters are sitting in prison. My last two swatters are sitting in prison right now. This new one will be joining them soon. Oh yeah, never shutting up, and this doesn't faze me one bit." We also have this from Mike Engelman, who said at 5 a.m, "Good morning, everyone. Imagine my shocked face when I was woken up at 1:30 a.m. by law enforcement standing in front of my home, locked and loaded after a swatting attempt. I'm a nobody living in a sleepy community of 2,800 people, sleepless night in southern Indiana. Sheriff Department and state police arrived at my home a little after 1:30 a.m. this morning. They rang the doorbell, started my wife. I got up, went to the door, saw someone on my front porch, turned the outside lights on, and noticed county sheriff deputies and state police locked and loaded. A 911 caller with an 869 area code reported that I was holding people hostage at gunpoint in my house and that he had shot and killed his daughter, who was upstairs. The weird thing was the 911 caller was still on the line with dispatch, providing false information while with the cops as they were talking to me. We don't have an upstairs. My daughter hasn't lived here in over 20 years. Wow. Once assured everything was fine, I said, this is what they call swatting. Explained it to them. They asked if I had any idea who would do this, and I said no. Did inform them that it's happening all over America. I asked them to please find out who it was. I was assured they would. Well, I'm sorry, they can't. It took a bit to calm my wife down. She has a heart condition, but it's all good now. Godspeed. I have a great relationship with local law enforcement in the area, and I know all the cops. Needless to say, I didn't sleep at all afterwards. I kept wondering who would do this to a small, sleepy community. Well, good sir, you have got 220,000 followers on X. That's why. Kash Patel, FBI director, tweeted this morning. I want to address the alarming rise of swatting incidents targeting media figures. The FBI is aware of this dangerous trend, and my team and I are already taking action to investigate and hold those responsible accountable. This isn't about politics. Weaponizing law enforcement against any American is not only morally reprehensible, but also endangers lives, including those of our officers. That will not be tolerated. We are fully committed to working with local law enforcement to crack down on these crimes. More updates to come. The reason why I say they can't is that most of the time, I'll put it this way. There was a swatter who was arrested. Jeremy from the Quartering said, they got my swatter. I had journalists tell me, Tim, that was your swatter. I say, that's not true. I believe the man they arrested was essentially a hitman. That is, people who wanted a swatting done would outsource it to an individual, provide the information, he would make the phone call. So that technically makes him the swatter, but it mostly makes him just the hatchet man. Yeah. I want to know who provided the information and directed him to do it. Stopping that guy does not stop the harassment at all. So when it may be that someone was stupid enough to do this wave of swattings across the country with their own phone number. Really doubt it. They could easily, in many ways, get phone numbers. And the worst thing is, it could be AI voices generated from apps, and people are doing it overseas. So it is very, very difficult to find out who is doing this. I think they will find some of these people. But like I mentioned, the people they arrest aren't actually the core individuals providing this information for the most part. So we shall see. We shall see. But I'm glad everyone is okay. I think that with the wave of videos we've seen on social media, TikTok, X, wherever, not so much X, where these people are just screaming, do it over and over again. And it is implied everybody following them knows what it means. Yeah. Look, it's one thing when one guy goes online and says, I'm going to, or someone should do thing, right? The police go and arrest them, or the person gets banned. What we have now is a zeitgeist. It is a trend. It is the modern leftist culture. It is the liberal establishment. I'm not talking about politicians. I'm saying in the core of liberal social orthodoxy right now, the viral trend is calling for terrorist action and assassinations. Now we're seeing these swattings. I believe these swattings are an outpouring of You've got tens of millions or hundreds of millions of views already on people posting videos screaming, do it, and things like that. Or people like Bill Burr saying, let me tell you about Bill Burr, and then we'll get into this in a second. Bill Burr said people should do bad thing to insert individuals. He then said, free Luigi. He is advocating to millions of people And you need to understand, Bill Burr is not a random Twitter personality, a random social media guy whose name is Dogfart. He is a high-profile liberal comedian on primetime television shows and some of the world's largest podcasts. He represents your average liberal, not leftist progressive. And he's calling for murder explicitly. Bill Burr explicitly called for murder and assassination. I'm not kidding. Now you are seeing the lowest tier of this. I said it yesterday. I said it the day before. This summer is going to be messed up. So everyone, please take your security seriously.
Yeah, I mean, everyone should obviously take their security seriously. I think that, but again, the problem that arises when it comes to this kind of swatting stuff is you're not going to defend yourself against the police. That leads to you getting killed. Yeah. And that's all there is to it. Like, you're not going to, you're not.
That's not the issue at all. The issue is you need to, if you are at high risk, if you are a media personality with a degree of followers, you call the local police department and say, I want to make you guys aware there's a series of swattings that are happening across the country, presumably coming from left-aligned and liberal-aligned individuals that have been calling for murder and death. They may call you with false reports regarding me, etc. This is the first thing you do. And you look, this guy, Mike, has a couple 100,000 followers. Not nothing. But it's not like he's Catturd with 3.6, right? They are targeting a lot of people. That is the purpose of terrorism. I remember when we had these big terror alerts back in the 2000s. Not that I believe the Bush administration, but they mentioned that the high alerts were for rural and small towns because terrorists want to target not big areas, small areas, because they want people that when it comes to terror, when it comes to the left, the reason why during the Summer of Love they went to small towns is because if they stay in big cities, people who live in small towns feel safe. They feel like if I get away from the cities, I'll be safe. So the far left extremists explicitly went to small towns, smashed up windows and businesses and things like this. I don't know how much of that was just more of emergent outpouring versus organization. My point is simply, if you have a small amount of followers relative to other people, they may target you because they want everyone on the right to be terrified.
Well, yeah, the whole point of terrorism in that respect is you get people to change their behaviors. And if somebody says, look, I've got this many thousand followers and I've got this thing to say and something like this happens, they may think twice before posting something at some point. And that's a very, very easy way to get somebody to change their behavior, change their habits.
Well, I think summer's going to get hot.
And we went through this. I mean, we went through this at the old location. Oh, like it was literally the first time it happened. I was literally walking back inside and then we had guns on us, me and Andy back then.
Oh yeah, that's right. You and Andy, the cops pointed guns at you, and then you were like, "What did you do? Like you walked forward with your hands up or something?"
Oh yeah, it's,
wow, that was crazy.
And as soon as we talked to them, we knew exactly what it was because we know what swatting is. They didn't understand what it was.
This is right. It was kind of funny though because if you SWAT some dude at his house, this is what happens. They get a megaphone. They're at the house. Come out with your hands up. The people come out backwards. They walk backwards. When we got SWATted the first time. It's a 10,000 square foot building on top of a hill with employees walking around doing things. And the cops pull up and they're like, what are all these guys walking around doing?
Well, yeah.
And what did he do? Like had his gun out of the car or something, right?
Yeah, they were, I mean, over the hang of the door. And me and Andrew,
the door was open.
Yeah. And me and Andrew were like, what the hell is going on?
Wow.
Yeah.
And then what did he tell you to do?
He walked towards him very slowly, and then we like
with your hands
up. And as soon as he started explaining to us what was going on, it's like, okay, they're upstairs doing a show right now, and this is not real. But what do you even do? Like at that was before we had armed security,
right? And now we do.
Yes,
and they have guns.
Yep.
There's a series of things you can do to mitigate swattings that I won't say publicly because. For obvious reasons, you don't want to upend your security. Mm-hmm. One thing I have no problem saying, though, is you are largely SWAT-proof if you are hiring a private security company. Most people can't do that.
It's the thing,
ridiculously expensive.
They're not targeting people who are at a large compound with tons of employees who have armed security on the premise. All of these people have something in common. I was at home in a small town with my wife and kids. And again, like I said before, a lot of these people wield incredible influence, but if you target them at home where their loved ones are at risk, it makes people who are doing this for a living think twice about saying what they mean. And that is the definition of terrorism.
Yeah. Indeed. when they first swatted us, again, like, you know, it was Brett and Andy were outside and they walked towards the car. But weren't you skating, or you guys were skating?
We just got done skating. So we were at the, I mean, people might not know what the geography is, but there was the barn park that was off site, like next door. So I was walking back inside.
So there's the main building, which is about 10,000 square feet. It's a massive building. And when you walk up, you can see it. And then straight to the right is a 70-foot wide pole barn with skate ramps in it. And then the whole parking lot had, I don't know if at the time we had this, we might have had the garden.
It might have still been the mini chicken
chickens.
coop at the top.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and there was a garden there. Actually, no, I don't think, no, it didn't. It had we had concreted already.
Okay.
Yeah, we did do the concrete, because I remember when the bomb squad showed up with the machines,
Yep.
It was all open space. And so we have ramps out there too, so you could be skating the whole parking lot. Like, for us, what saved the show from having the door kicked in is that we have employees. So when they show up, it's Brett and Andy standing there being like, what's going on? And the cops were probably confused because the calls they do for swatting, I think it was a hostage thing. And they're like, there's two guys just standing outside, like, chilling.
Like, imagine me any other time my headphones are in both ears. They're like, what's? I'm like, what? No idea what's going on right now. Just got very lucky that time. And then there was Chaircast not that long after that, when there actually was the event.
That was I think that was the last swatting.
Yeah.
Where, I don't want to. So let me put it this way: we largely mitigate potential swattings. What happens now usually is the cops do perimeter sweeps, because it happens so many times, and our security guards just send us a notice. So it happens. We don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
And so it'll be like, heads up, we got swatted again, and it's just literally at this point it means nothing to us.
And it encourages it if you keep talking about it publicly.
At this point, it doesn't matter though, because
if it interrupts the show, it does.
It can't anymore.
No, I'm saying, but that it encourages people if it interrupts the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you have a private security company, you can't be swatted, because the police work with private security contractors, and they know who they are, and they have direct lines of communication. So if any one of these guys, like Catturd, at his house had private security contractors, if like, just put it this way, a lot of these guys are off-duty cops or retired cops, and they have direct lines to the police. They go to the same poker games. Mm-hmm. So when someone tries to swat you, they just say, like, you get a phone call and they're like, I'm at this address doing this thing. They go, oh yeah, Jim works there. He's there right now. I actually dropped him off. Nice try, buddy. Mm-hmm. That makes no sense. So for everybody else, they're going after, they're clearly targeting small homes, and that's why they went after Nick Sorter's family.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's just it. So, like, I understand for podcasts this size, or Catturd, or even Mike Engelman there, they have a following. For someone like myself, I have a couple thousand people following me, and yes, that could still happen to me. So that is a concern when I'm hearing these stories. At what point do I look at different ways to secure myself within my means?
That's why I was saying that the first thing you should do is call your local police department and say, hey, I have a small following with the wave of swattings going on. I wanted to come in. You know, what we did was, before, when we were in New Jersey, and before, this is like the early days, this is actually before Timcast IRL. So this is a fascinating bit of Timcast history. Before the launch of Timcast IRL, the Tim Pool Daily Show in the mornings was the 34th biggest podcast in the world. It is nowhere near that anymore, because when we launched IRL, it sort of, everybody moved over. I guess that's how it happens, and we reduced volume. But at the time, I went to the police station, which hilariously was 1 block from my house, and I just said, hey, my name's Tim. I've got a couple million followers. Why don't you guys know that I live down the street? Here's my address. In the event of any swatting, here's my cell number. Literally, it's me, a roommate. We make YouTube videos. If anyone calls out about family, wife, hostages, not real. And they were like, we get it. We know what swattings are. And never had a problem. When we first moved to the castle, we did the same thing. We didn't go and show up, though. After we got swatted, we were like, time to hire private security. We actually had a guy break into the house, too. Yep. Like, I say break in. It is burglary, but he didn't break anything. He walked in the building and was not allowed to. He bypassed a barrier and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah,
policies changed after that.
Policies then became much more secure, and now we have a perimeter barrier and guys with rifles.
I mean, that was crazy because that was like he just shows up in the main living room area, like the main area.
Yeah, we shouldn't get into it.
Yeah.
We shouldn't.
Yeah.
But let's just say people have committed crimes. And the funny thing is, you know what's really funny? We don't work at that studio anymore.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing there. It's a private residence now. It's being rented. And people still show up there because they don't know. And one guy showed up and physically attacked one of our employees. We still own the property, but now there's neighbors and their private residencies. And then some crazy leftist, a guy in a dress, beat up one of our employees. It's crazy. So it's kind of nuts. We had at the old property, not so much since we moved, because this is I guess I would describe this a compound. You know, a fortified, multi-building, massive property with armed guards. But the other property was just like a big house. People still to this day drive up and sit at the base for just like 10, 15 minutes, get out of the car and stand and get out of the car and just stand staring up the hill. And it's the weirdest thing. And even after we warned people that we have armed security and
in elevated shooting positions,
but that is a fact, and that we've conferred with local police and federal authorities, and we've actually put up all the requisite legal signs and everything and physical barriers, people would still try and go up to the house. And then they would discover a man standing there with a rifle trained on them, shocked to find that when you jump a barricade that says, like, do not enter this property, you know, armed security guards will defend themselves. People are like, whoa, there's a guy there with a gun. And it's like, turn around now and leave.
So what type of federal resources is Kash Patel going to put into place to even look into stuff like this?
Apparently none.
Yeah.
He says they're committed to working with local law enforcement.
But I'm saying, like, would that just be him and somebody that he works with overseeing consistent calls to the places that have had these swattings, like to Nick's order?
I mean, I assume he'll have some resources for them, which is, I don't mean to be crass when I say none. I imagine what they're going to be able to offer up is interstate data. So the swatters probably don't live in the states where the swattings are happening, making it very difficult for local law enforcement. With Kash now engaged, he can contact each local department and say, we can take this to the federal level and get you the data you need. We will fast track you for interstate law enforcement.
Oh, you mean the actual case for federal law enforcement in the first place?
Exactly. Yeah. Bang. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.